Yo guys, what's up? It's your boy once again. Um, Coming at you with another video. I want to talk about the WWE. WWE, World Wrestling Entertainment. Um, we just came off of a Survivor Series this past Sunday. I had a couple friends of mine come over. We all watched it. We enjoyed ourselves. The main event was trash, but overall, we had a good time watching the pay per view. And there were some bright spots for sure. Um, I guess what I want to do in this video is kind of do like a retrospective looking back at WWE in 2019. And I know that, we have, about a month left. 2019 is almost over. We still have some 2019 left. Um, we have like 6 weeks left, 5 to 6 weeks left before we enter the new year. Um, but I kind of feel like during this time for WWE in particular, um, nothing really major happens. We're gonna have TLC in December. That's a throwaway pay per view, and basically, now that the last of the big four already happened or has come to a close, at this point, they're already kind of preparing for WrestleMania next year. So they're gearing for WrestleMania now that Survivor Series is in the rearview mirror. WrestleMania is the focal point. But before that, Royal Rumble in January. So uh, I guess you can say we're in the off season of WWE right now. Season where WWE just kind of doesn't give a fuck anymore. Granted, one can argue all year has felt like an off season for WWE. But I'm just gonna kind of talk about a multitude of things. The Fiend, Seth Rollins, recently SmackDown going to Fox, just the overall WWE brand. And I may talk a little bit about NXT in this as well, since they are part of the whole WWE algorithm or system. So, I don't know what to start. A lot of people give WWE shit, from podcasters to there are even some people within the wrestling industry who have no connections to WWE, but they are criticism of WWE and the product and what they see. A lot of backlash from fans. Some people can say a lot of the reactions or negativity from fans is, just people just being trolls or people just hating just to hate. They don't have anything else better to do, so they just complain, and people are complainers. Some of that I think might be true, but realistically, when it comes to WWE, I think the people that complain about the product just to complain or they troll just to troll, that's now become the minority. People who are complaining about the WWE product and are shitting on it have every right to, because their reasons have been valid. WWE has given us a valid reason to shit on their product. Is 2019 the worst year in WWE history? No, it's not. I know a lot of people say it is in their opinion, but to me, WWE in 2019 and even in 2018, which wasn't a hot year either, content wise, is not on par with WWE or F at the time in the year 93 and 94. I'm sorry, and can even argue maybe even 95, the year 95. Can't compare. Those are some dark days and some dark years for WWE. At least I can say a bright spot there. I can find some bright spots. Maybe there's a lot of shit to get through, but I can find maybe a little one or two nuggets of gold coming out of WWE, the main roster, I should say. The biggest piece of gold is NXT. Uh, that is the single-handedly best thing to come out of the WWE in the last 5 to 10 years, besides the network. But yeah, a lot of the criticism the WWE gets or has gotten a lot this year, I think is warranted and I think it's fair. Um, I will forever say that WWE has pushed a lot of the fan bases away. you look at the numbers for their ratings, they still bring in like 2 millions or whatever. But you look at the key demographic, the audience that WWE has, it's a much older audience. It's a lot of guys that are in their mid to late 40s, early 50s. Guys who stuck around for a long, long time. You look at AEW's demographic, and AEW's demographic, their key demographic, they're still pulling in that 18 to 25, 33-year-olds. That's the target audience. I said in times past, and in my last video I did before this one, that's the audience that WWE has pushed away for years, for years, for years. They pushed away and they pushed away and they pushed away. And now they're gravitating to AEW. Now, AEW is not seeing a huge overabundance of, these fans that WWE has dropped off and kind of kicked to the curb and left behind. But you clearly see that there's that passion audience that WWE has lost. They've crossed over to AEW. They found what they're looking for in AEW. They found what they're looking for in NXT. I know some wrestling fans, WWE fans, they'll watch NXT, but they won't watch a Raw or a SmackDown. It's gotten me that way. And that's sad to say. And I've watched the WWE product for years. For years, I've watched the WWE product. I grew up on it, just like a lot of wrestling fans have. But WWE makes it really hard for you to stick with them and stand by them. They've really made it hard over these last few years, and it's been trying. It has. I don't even bother watch Raw anymore. Now, I'm not saying, I'm kicking WWE to the curb and, I'm not going to watch it. I'm going to watch it at the end of the day. WWE has the largest global reach in professional wrestling. At the end of the day, whether you like them or not, they're going to have some key talent. They're going to have, some stars on their roster, some guys I followed from a TNA, from a Ring of Honor, from a New Japan, that are going to cross over into WWE. It's just the nature of the beast. It's going to happen. Now that we have AEW, and hopefully AEW truly becomes a second alternative, and they become the second largest wrestling company in North America, that might change a bit. Other people might go to that instead of going to WWE. But WWE is still going to bring in the talent and sign the talent. One can argue, and it's a valid argument, that WWE probably signs up too much talent, that they sign up people just to sign them, and they don't know how to use them. They don't know what to do with them. They'll sign them up just so that they don't go to an AEW, or they, don't go to a New Japan, or wherever the case may be. And that is WWE being, playing hardball, and that's how they are. That's how they've always been. That's the nature of the beast. That's how Vince runs his business. It's no different in 2019 than it was, in 1999. It's just how it is. So I guess I'll just talk about some of the bright spots from WWE this year. Bright spots. I can say Kofi Kingston being the WWE champion. Now I have a constructive criticism when it comes to this. The story they told for Kingston going on his journey to WrestleMania was good. Kingston finally winning the strap at WrestleMania was the cherry on top. It was the WrestleMania moment, the WrestleMania dream come true. Everything that WrestleMania has always been built upon for years, but have been lacking. That moment, that genuine feel, that's something that moment that you can remember that year's WrestleMania by. We got it this year with Kingston winning the WWE champion and being, for all intents and purposes, I know people don't like to mention it, but it is what it is. It's facts. Being the first African-American, or not even African-American, but the first Black WWE champion. So that was a bright spot I felt this year that we got. The other bright spot this year, I'd say, The Fiend. The Fiend is the hottest wrestling character in all of wrestling, not just in WWE. But I would argue, AEW, New Japan, Impact Wrestling, NWA, Um, uh, what else do we have? NWA, Impact, Major League Wrestling. The Fiend is the best character right now in wrestling. It is single-handedly the most creative and original organic character to come out of WWE in the last 10 years. WWE has something special with this Fiend character. His whole, now, it's Bray Wyatt's thing is, it's really a Jekyll and Hyde kind of like thing. It's a Jekyll and Hyde mixed with like a little bit of like a Mr. Rogers. At least that's what it reminds me of. The Firefly Funhouse stuff reminds me of Mr. Rogers. And then you have the Fiend, which is like his evil dark persona. Like I said, which is the Jackal to the High. But the Fiend's presentation, the music, the smoke and mirrors, it feels special. It feels different. The Fiend feels unique. He feels far more refreshing and different compared to anybody on that roster. And there are a lot of guys that I love on the WWE roster, like an AJ Styles or Ricochet, Seth Rollins, and whatever the case may be. Bray Wyatt is truly unique and truly special with what he's got right now. And I think WWE needs to be very protective of his character. They need to be protective of his character. They need to be protective of his booking, just like they have been with Undertaker. And they can do it. WWE can do it because they've been protective of Undertaker's career for the last like 20-some years. They've been protective of John Cena and how he's booked. They damn sure have been protective and careful in how Brock Lesnar is booked and how he's been perceived. They can do it for Bray Wyatt too. But the question is, will they try or will they fuck it up? That's the big key question right there. But despite all that, the Bray Wyatt thing is definitely, the hottest thing right now going on in WWE. And they put the strap on the right guy. I wish Bray would have stayed on Raw, but he's on SmackDown with the new Blueberry belt. I'm going to talk about that in a little bit as well. So I say that's a bright spot this year to come out of WWE. Some of the wrestling has not been bad. Despite some of the storylines and maybe angles that have been kind of off-putting. Some of the wrestling we've gotten has been pretty good in WWE. I'm trying to think what's some matches I can think of the top of my head right now. One that comes to mind, Brock Lesnar versus Seth Rollins at SummerSlam. I thought that was an excellent main event. It was great. Basically anything from NXT this year they've been knocking it out of the park this year. Bright spot I can say is Adam Cole, Baby, has had a pretty damn good year in 2019. I know Solo Monster was talking about how he's had probably the best November out of anybody. But I dare to say that Adam Cole's had probably one of the best year out of anybody on the WWE roster. He won the NXT Championship earlier this year against Gargano. Was it late last year? Don't remember. You know what? Take that back. I think Adam Cole came into 2019 as NXT champ. But point is, the guy's been on a roll, having matches with Daniel Bryan, excellent matches with Daniel Bryan, beats him, has an excellent match with Rollins. The War Games pay-per-view on Saturday, which was awesome. And then had an excellent and quite possibly the best match on the Survivor Series card against Pete Dunne this past Sunday. So Adam Cole has definitely been a bright spot, I feel like, in WWE. It's been something good for WWE. The overall NXT brand has been good for WWE this year in 2019, just like it has been the year before that and the year before that and the year before that. But I'm just trying to be positive here, guys. Some things that I've liked, even though I haven't sat down and watched an entire Raw or an entire SmackDown because I feel like WWE doesn't care anymore, so why should I? But there are some things I've cherry picked here and there that I've watched. I'll watch a pay per view in its entirety, but like the weekly SmackDowns, the weekly Raws, I just can't do it anymore because WWE don't care. So why should I? But I do cherry pick. I'll fast forward, to the stuff that I want to watch and what I want to see. It ain't much, it's a little small nugget out of a entire grand show, which is sad, but there are little bright spots here and there that I picked out, I cherry picked, and that I do like and that I enjoy. Buddy Murphy, I feel like is put it this way: Buddy Murphy had a breakout moment with Roman Reigns, but I feel like WWE has kind of dropped the ball a little bit and not keeping up with this momentum because they just kind of like stopped and it's like, what are you doing? Buddy Murphy's like the most talked about guy right now on Twitter at the time when he had that excellent match with Roman Reigns. But yeah, it looks like they're doing something with him now on Raw against Aleister Black. I hope it's not just like a one and done and then they continue to do what they do with Black and then Buddy Murphy just kind of goes back into obscurity. But yeah, that's pretty much the only positive things I can say coming out of WWE in 2019. I'm pretty sure there's more if I have to dig a little bit deeper. But again, I'm doing this video on the fly. I'm not making any lists or anything like that. I'm just calling it like I see it, what's coming up at the forefront of my mind. But despite that, you gotta talk about the negatives here. Oh boy. So some of the negatives here from WWE is just the storylines. The storylines aren't there. They suck. That's probably not, anything new to anybody, but it is what it is. You've got, I know Paul Heyman's supposed to be running Raw, the executive vice president for Raw. And, I've always said it. I said it since day one. A lot of people were singing the praise. Paul Heyman's going to be running Raw. Bischoff's going to be running SmackDown, even though he's not anymore. But when that news was announced, everyone was just like, oh, the new day is here, finally, in WWE. I was hoping some things would change, but I wasn't holding my breath. I even made a video on the very topic talking about Bischoff at the time when he was assigned to the role and Paul Heyman being executives for both brands, that it is good news. It is something that I hope does well, but it's something that I probably can't really analyze and critique or give constructive criticism until like after SummerSlam. Give it a couple of weeks to a couple of months and see where we're kind of heading, where we're going. Now, I can still withhold my judgment on how things were going, up until WrestleMania, I should say. But I think it's been long enough to kind of see where it's going, to analyze and critique these shows. Now, for SmackDown, Bischoff was only in office for a couple of weeks, a cup of coffee, and they end up getting rid of him, and Bruce Pritchard is now taking the place of Bischoff. SmackDown sucks. Since SmackDown's gone to Fox, it sucks. Not that SmackDown was firing on all cylinders prior to going to Fox, but they definitely have not. There definitely has not been an uptick since they moved to Fox. The only good shows that SmackDown has had since coming to Fox was the premiere show where they had all the legends, which is kind of sad to say that basically an anniversary show or whatever is what is better than like your weekly average show. You have to bring in legends and old timers to boost up your show and make it special. But the anniversary show, the premiere show on Fox, and I'm trying to think what's the second enjoyable SmackDown. Oh God, I can't even think about it. But there was a second SmackDown that I enjoyed, that I thought was pretty good. But the point is, how long has it been? 6, 7 weeks, 8 weeks since SmackDown's premiered on Fox, and only 1 or 2 shows have been good to decent. Not a good sign. So SmackDown has been trash. Raw, the biggest thing I will forever say that will kill Raw is 3 hours. 3 hours is too much. If Raw was reduced back to the 2 hour format, Raw probably wouldn't get as much shit as it does. But it gets so much shit because it's 3 hours. It's long anyway. On a Monday night, it's long. It's drawn out. So when it's long and drawn out, it gives you more time to put for WWE to put more shit in. Shit that doesn't make sense and shit that doesn't need to be there. But even Raw and Paul Heyman, and I don't know to what extent they say Paul Heyman is the director for Raw, and only he answers to Vince, directly to Vince. And you do see some influence from Paul Heyman. Some of it's pretty decent, some of it not so good, like at all. The Rusev stuff, just not good at all. Um, so you know, it's just really, really tough, man. It's really, really tough. Another negative this year, Seth Rollins. I love Seth Rollins. Seth Rollins is my boy. I was cheering for him uh, at WrestleMania this year for him to win the Universal Strap because 2018 you couldn't deny Seth Rollins was the most over baby face on the Raw brand in 2018. He was hot. They should have put the strap on him then. Don't know why they decided to wait and delay it, but they should have put the strap on him then. Anyway, he wins the belt at WrestleMania. I was excited for it. I was like, Rollins is the guy to go forward in 2019 as champion, to kick off this year. And he was okay until they kind of mixed in some storylines with him with Becky that no one really liked. No one was clicking. It didn't click. No one liked it. And then Rollins started to open his mouth on Twitter. Don't get me wrong. A lot of people say Rollins is a kiss up or he's a sellout to the WWE machine. Look, WWE is his brand. I know a lot of people like to see these guys. These are guys that have not necessarily you could say started off through the WWE system, but they came from like the indies, the Ring of Honors, the Pro Wrestling Guerrillas. They came from the indies and they migrated into WWE and into the WWE system. Just because you worked on the indies does not mean that when you come to the WWE that you won't be a WWE guy. And I think a lot of hate that some of the wrestling fans give Seth Rollins, they need to get that out of their mind. Just because, he was one of us, but now that he's sticking up for WWE, he's a traitor. Fuck him. And it's like, give me 1 second, guys. And it's like, it's not about that at all. Look, Rollins has every right to hold on, guys. Just give me 1 second here. Rollins has every right to stick up for his brand, his company, even though WWE is creatively bankrupt and you can say it's been trashed this year. If that's the company he works for, that's paying him mega bucks, doesn't make him a sellout. It's his opinion. He has every right. But the way that Rollins conveys his message and how he speaks up, I think really bit him in the ass. Rollins comes across as being a jerk. He comes across as being a dick. Some of the stuff he said about Jon Moxley, formerly known as Dean Ambrose, when Ambrose left the company, and he, infamously, trashed the company in WWE and his creative direction. Some of the stuff that Rollins was saying against Moxley, saying how Moxley took his ball and ran home with it, and and he was just a complainer, whatever the case may be, taking shots, and it's like, bro, it's like you guys were like, to our knowledge at least, you guys were like bros. You guys came up on the roster together, and you were like, it's like a brotherhood. It kind of felt like a genuine brotherhood. It felt like with all three of you guys. And so to kind of see Rollins kind of, give his thoughts negatively towards Ambrose's perception of his personal experience with the WWE and leaving, that didn't do Rollins any favors. Then you had Rollins saying the shit he was saying with Will Ospreay, having a little Twitter beef, Twitter war. Then Rollins saying, stuff, against wrestling fans. Then just recently you had Rollins saying some shit with CM Punk. So it's like the guy just can't keep his mouth shut. Like I said, once again, if he wants to defend the WWE brand, and he even said it himself in an interview that WWE has given him everything. It's given him the life that he wants to live. And he's met his wife, his future wife, through WWE. WWE's given him everything. So he feels like when people trash talk it, he has to defend it. He has to defend his honor. He's one of the top guys there. He feels like it's his responsibility to be, a locker room leader. If that's his prerogative, if that's his stance, that's okay. I don't have a problem with that. I don't care. If he wants to defend WWE till his face turns blue, I don't care. That's his brand. That's his company. That's his entitlement. He should do that. He shouldn't get shit for that. But a lot of the stuff that he has said and the way Seth Rollins says a lot of things against those three scenarios that I just gave over the summer and continuously now, Rollins comes across as a dick. And he comes across as not being likable. And that's what's having fans turn against Rollins. And I think that dude needs to take a chill pill. He really does. Does not change my perspective of Seth Rollins. I'm still a fan. I still think Rollins is an excellent talent. I still think he's one of the best wrestlers on that main roster. I still think Rollins is a workhorse in the WWE. But I think it's a little bit of two things. I think it's a little bit of the booking. I think WWE thrusting him with Becky and them having a mixed tag rivalry with Baron Corbin and Lacey Evans or whatever. That didn't do Rollins any favors. And then Rollins speaking his mind with no filter on Twitter also did not do Rollins any favors. So those two things combined kind of fucked Rollins over during the summer and continuously now in 2019. And that's why I think a lot of people have just really kind of turned on Seth Rollins. And I know right now a lot of people are from last night's Raw. Seems like people are like saying there might be a heel turn coming, maybe a new faction with Rollins forming a new faction to come with Rollins and the Authors of Pain, who now made their comeback last night on Raw. I don't know. We'll see where it goes. I'm not the biggest fan of Rollins being a chicken shit heel, because the last time Rollins was heel, he was a chicken shit. He ran away all the time. It was like WWE trying to book him like an Edge 2.0, but they failed miserably in that execution, and I didn't enjoy it at all. I think Rollins is fine as a babyface. Can the guy cut a promo? No, but that's not really saying much, because 90% of the roster on WWE cannot cut a good promo. And part of that you can blame on them, being micromanaged, but it is what it is. But, I just don't, I think Rollins was fine as babyface. He was fine as top guy as babyface, even though lack of mic skills. But he didn't do himself any favors for just being very boisterous and vocal on Twitter. And WWE didn't do him any favors either with the way they kind of mishandled some of his booking and his creative direction over the summer. So yeah, that was something that was just not good this year in 2019. This is a criticism I have for WWE this year. I also got to talk about this real quick. I know everybody in the mama talked about it because I was lit. I was going to talk about it the moment it happened, but I just, after my frustration died down, I just dropped in. It was I'll come back to it, but I didn't come back to it. One of the dumbest things coming out of 2019 from WWE, the Bray Wyatt, Seth Rollins, Hell in a Cell match, the stoppage, that was garbage. That was absolute garbage. That was one of the worst finishes in the history of WWE. I didn't say it was the single worst, because there have been some other bad ones, but that was one of the single worst finishes to a title match in WWE history. Maybe even wrestling history. I have to go back and look through the catalog of other different wrestling companies and compare it. But definitely one of the worst finishes to a main event title match. People were pissed. People were livid. It made no goddamn sense. And the match practically, it really ended in the DQ. It ended in the DQ. And then everyone was saying it was a DQ, but you had WWE try to make try to cover up for their ass by saying, "Oh wait, no, it wasn't a DQ. It was a stoppage because the referee wanted to protect Bray, make sure that he was unconscious. Seth Rollins took it too far in a Hell in a Cell match. He took it too far. Him throwing a whole toolbox and all the tools in it at Bray Wyatt and hitting him with the ladder and hitting him with a chair, but hitting him with a chair, hitting Bray Wyatt with a chair and a ladder laying on top of Bray. That's taking it too far. The whole point of Hell in a Cell is anything goes. I guess it took it too far when Triple H or Triple H or Undertaker or Batista took sledgehammer shots to the face in Hell in a Cell. Those matches didn't stop. Those matches kept going because it was perfect. It was legal. And to me, it discredits the gimmick match that Hell in a Cell is and was. It discredits it. It does. Hell in a Cell was one of my favorite gimmick matches from WWE. And to me, having an ending like that just ruined it. It ruined the credibility of a Hell in a Cell match. It ruined its specialness. And to top it off, this was the second year in a row that they did this. Because last year at Hell in a Cell, it was Braun Strowman versus Roman Reigns. And you had Brock Lesnar come in, tear the door off its hinges of the cage, F5s both competitors, and the match just ends in a no contest. Bullshit ending in 2018. We got another even more bullshit ending in 2019 for that match specifically. And it was a title match. And to hear that when people in attendance that were asking for refunds and were chanting AEW and were chanting bullshit or this is bullshit or restart the match, and to hear that Vince McMahon was laughing. He thought it was funny. He was laughing at fans' negative reaction to that finisher, a justifiable reaction, negative but justifiable reaction to the ending of that Hell in a Cell finish. Vince McMahon was laughing in the production truck. That should tell any wrestling fan what Vince thinks of wrestling fans today. He doesn't. When that finish happened, that was the last straw for me for WWE. And when I say last straw, I'm not saying just go completely MIA for WWE, but to really take a further step back from the product and not watch it anymore in its entirety unless it's a pay-per-view, unless something catches my eye. When that ending happened, set me off. But then when I heard about the reactions of Vince McMahon to the reactions of the fans in attendance, that set me off. Even that was the straw that broke the camel's fucking back. Because if Vince McMahon doesn't care, then why should we? Why should we care anymore if Vince doesn't care? Because why would you book yourself in the corner? Here you have Bray Wyatt, the most unique character you have. People are wanting this guy. They're digging it. You know, for something that you probably think it might take people a while to kind of get used to, people caught on to the Fiend gimmick. They ate it up quickly right away. You book him in a main event match for the title and a Hell in a Cell match. And not only do you end it the way it does, but you don't have Bray Wyatt win on top of that. That was the only outcome that people wanted, was Bray winning. And yes, Bray ended up getting the title a month later at the Sweet and Saudi 4 money show. But the point is, at that moment, the only right choice was Bray Wyatt. And for Bray not to get the strap, and then for him to the match end the way it did, in the type of gimmick match that you have, Hell in a Cell, Vince knew fans were going to backlash at that, but he gave the green light anyway. And for his reaction to be, he laughed because he thought it was funny that people were genuinely upset and disappointed in that match and how it ended. That to me shows that's all the evidence I need to know that if he doesn't care about his fan base, why should I care or give a fuck about his product anymore? Why should I pay 110% of my attention span to his product, to the main roster? And yeah, it's still feeding into the WWE machine because I'm watching the pay-per-views when they come. I'm watching NXT weekly, when it hits. But when it comes to the main shows, Raw and SmackDown, I can't do it anymore. I can't do it anymore. And it's sad. It's really sad because I love the WWE when it was WWF. They had some good shit. My favorite period, of wrestling will forever be. Wrestling's good today, and there's some good wrestlers that I like today. But to me, nothing will compare to the Attitude Era, the Monday Night War era. That was the best time to be a wrestling fan to me, and I still stand by that. That was my favorite period of the WWF, now E. Even in the early 2000s, WWE was kicking ass. They was making good storylines, good matches. It was good. But now we've gotten to the point where there's a huge disconnect between fans and WWE. And yeah, they're trying. They're trying some things. But when you laugh at your audience because of stupid booking decisions that you approve, but you laugh just to get a reaction out of them, just to irk them off, that's pushing your fan base away. That's going to turn your fans off from your product. It's going to turn them off from wrestling altogether. Or it's going to turn them to AEW, or going to turn them to something else. And that's sad. I know Bray Wyatt now is the champion. That's the right choice. That is the right thing. That's a mistake that they corrected. They got the belt on Bray. Speaking of belts, he debuted the new Universal title under a new color. It is now the Blueberry Universal Championship. I hate it. Surprisingly, a lot of people are more favorable of this variation of the title in comparison to the red. I didn't like the red. I thought the red was ugly. But the red kind of grew on me. This blue is just as bad as the red, though. It's just as bad as the red. I get it. Blue brand, blue belt. But it looks terrible. I mean, really, what the hell, WWE? What is up with all these candy color-coded painted belts? I don't get it. They also debuted just this past last Friday, a brand new Intercontinental Championship, and was presented to Shinsuke Nakamura. That belt is badass. That belt right now is single-handedly the best looking belt on the entire main roster. Main roster. The new Intercontinental Championship is the best looking main roster title belt that we have right now, bar none. That's a one bright spot I'll give WWE in 2019. But realistically, they should have just changed the Universal title. Brand new belt, brand new, different, distinctive look. Not the same cut, copy, and paste look of the WWE Championship. But this time, instead of painting it red, we're going to dip it in blue paint or blueberry juice. Just shouldn't have happened. Sorry for making this one long, guys. I'm going in on 40 minutes. I think I'm going to end it here. There's definitely some more negative things I could talk about WWE, but I'd be here all night. But these are some few positives with a majority of negative things I've had with the WWE as a wrestling fan in the year 2019. I hope they can turn it around. I hope they can do things for the better going into 2020 and into WrestleMania. Um, so we'll see. You guys let me know what you think about this in the box below. Do yourself a favor, hit that like button and subscribe. Peace out.